Innovative open source projects made by incredibly motivated students, coaches, and organizations.
Hello, Open Summer of Code, and welcome to another Open Summer of Code tutorial. This one will be about project management. So this is the step after you've done, for instance, a scoping session or a brainstorm. And we will talk about the planning and the following up part. The first part in this workshop is going to be about planning for small controlled disasters. The second part will be about creating user stories, chopping them up and estimating them, which is hard. And the last part will be about following up together with the team. So as I said, we were going to talk about planning for small controlled disasters. We don't know each other very well. We don't know what each other's skills are, and we don't know how to work together. So disaster is about to happen. So we're going to chop it up, agile style. We're going to make it a little bit easier for you to go from nothing to something in 4 weeks and not wind up with more of nothing. So when you're going from A to B, I advise you not to plan to build a Ferrari by week 4. You and your customers will be sad. You might know this image where in week 1 you plan to build a tire, and week 2 you're going to connect them. Week 3 you might build something to sit in, and in week 4 you might wind up with something like a steering wheel and a roof over your head. Great, but it's possible that by the end that you've built it, that you've got a lot of problems outside of your control. Namely, one is, if something goes wrong along the way and you have to redo something, it's possible you wind up with just the wheels in the sitting area, but no steering wheel. That's disastrous. The other part could be, hey, maybe they didn't even want a Ferrari. We can avoid these problems by planning a small disaster every week. We want to anticipate and control those problems. And how are we going to do that? Well, we can focus on delivering something valuable every week. For instance, in week 1, you build a skateboard. Then you talk to your customers, and apparently they are not as agile as you want them to be, so they might need like a small steering wheel. Now you have a moped. In week 3, it could be possible you can go a step further, build on what you already have. You already know how to work with wheels. You already know how to work with a steering wheel. Amazing. You could go for a bike. And in week 4, you might wind up with a full-blown motorcycle. And people are happy. And in the last step, they might be enthusiastic because they wanted a convertible. They never wanted a Ferrari. This gives your team the opportunity to fail and to steer in the right direction. So that's setting yourself up for success with small controlled disasters. So you have arrived in a week where you want to build something. You are going to prepare together with the team, and you're going to commit on building something, creating something valuable. What's good to know is what is on your plate, what's coming. We call that the backlog. From the scoping session to the minimal viable product you've defined in your scoping session, you can go towards the backlog. This is your team work source. It's defined by the client and the team, and it's constantly maintained and prioritized. There are going to be changes. This is usually by the product manager or the coach, but it is a conversation between the entire team and also with the client, of course. And it exists out of multiple user stories. So what are user stories? User stories are requirements, needs, features, ideas. It's something a user wants. For instance, as a chat room visitor, I want to be able to add emoji to text so that I don't have to type all my feelings. This could be a relevant user story. After you've created these user stories, they need to be chopped up into smaller tasks so that they are executable by someone and the user story can come to life. Well, a task could be maybe the styling of, for example, a login screen, It could be setting up a database. It could be creating an API call. Chop the user story up so that it can come to life. Now we'll start estimating. This is hard, especially if it's your first time, and it's hard because you're in a new team. You don't know how things are going to go. But we have a little bit of a guidance here to make sure you're not going to completely crash and burn. An estimate is a combination of effort, uncertainty, and complexity. Effort is if you already know how something works or how you have to do it, then you have an idea like, probably it'll take me this much time. But it's possible that it's a very complex problem. That might mean you need a lot of focus switching. So the points go higher. You estimate a little bit more time. And then you have those stories where you don't really know how things work. Well, make sure you have enough time for those. If you notice that you need more than half a day to complete a task, you probably need to chop it up. You don't want tasks to last for days because then probably something is off, something is wrong. You need to make sure that you can deliver. All right. Then you have this magical number of hours, and then you multiply that number by 3.14. You apply the rule of pi. Believe me, you'll be grateful if you use this one. Your colleagues are counting on you, and you want to feel confident. And if it's done, you can just start a new task, which is great. But underestimating causes an avalanche of problems. And you can use this throughout your career because there will always be tasks where you don't really know what the outcome will be. Following up is the next part. You're going to find out what works best for you and your team. You need to make it easy to follow up because you'll have a bunch of tasks that you now estimated, and you want to make sure that you can follow up easily. I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do this, and you can make this as easy as or as complex as you need it to be, but make it easy for your team to understand and that you can communicate well. So I have a couple of techniques for you. You can pick and choose and combine as much as you want, as long as you find something that makes communication in your team work well. This one is a very easy one. You can use this, for instance, in week 1 when you do a hackathon. You don't need to make it too complex in the first week. We already know what the backlog is. At the start of your hackathon, or the start of your day, or the start of your week, you can start dragging tasks into the to-do so that everybody in the team knows what to get started on. When they start on something, they drag it to doing. And when it's done, they drag it to done. But when it's not done and they start doing something else, drag it back to do. You need focus, right? You could also add a column called blocked. This makes it very easy to spot when people are stuck somewhere. And it makes it very easy to communicate about. And you could chop things up a little bit more. For instance, you have your backlog. Okay, that's for someday. Then you can make a week log at the start of the week after you do a scoping session, for instance. And then every day you can drag your to-dos for today into today. And if you want to go really wild, you can also put a column called in review in there to make sure that people look at each other's work and make sure that there's quality. This structure is going to help you and your team to follow up on each other every day. And you can do that during a stand-up. A stand-up is there to make sure that you know if people are completing their tasks, if they're blocked somewhere, if they need help, or something needs to be reviewed, for instance. And what happens during a stand-up is people talk about what they've done yesterday, what they are going to do today, and what's blocking them. When people start discussing other topics than the answers to these questions, reel them in again, because we want to keep it short, concise, and clear. Because a stand-up is only supposed to take like 15 minutes or less. And you can do this typed in Discord or in voice or in video. You get to choose how you want to do this. We can do it asynchronous as well. Traditionally, you do a stand-up in the morning, first thing, But you can do multiple, for instance, one in the morning and one in the evening, or maybe whenever you feel like things are derailing and you need to get everybody in sync again. The backlog needs to be maintained, prioritized, and cleaned at all times. This usually happens with the coach, and the team can also take a look at it, but it should be like groomed all the time. When you're doing something, when a student is making something, they need to be able to focus. So one thing at a time. No need to drag a lot of things in doing, because then you lose that overview. Then you lose the purpose of what this structure is for. And if somebody is stuck on something for longer than 20 minutes, please make sure they reach out for help. Help them reach out for help. This is very important. And well, we're here to help each other. This is what Open Summer of Code is about. Not just to huddle together with the team, but also to reach out and to make sure that everybody is getting great success. Use a tool you like to follow up. You could use Trello. This is very easy and transparent to use. You could use GitHub. And GitHub helps developers, for instance, to close issues and tasks whenever they push. You can use Miro. They also have nice ways, nice templates that you can use. And you could use Figma or anything else. You can even put drawings in there, however you like. If your favorite tool is not on this list, just pick one that you like. You can also think of Mural, Kanban, and Google Presentations. And as you can see, on the Figma board you have labels and colors and faces, and I'll explain how you can use those. Labels make tasks and issues more clear when there's a lot of them and when there is a lot of team members. For instance, if you have a lot of designers in the team and you have a backlog where you're not very sure who is going to pick up what, you could label the task with design, so the designers can just pick it up when they are ready for it. You could also label a task as bug or as issue, so that it's clear that something isn't working and it needs to be worked on, that it has high priority. You can also label things with bad issue or duplicate, however you see fit. But even more important is that these tasks, issues, and bugs are comprehensible, that they're clear to the people that are reading them. If I read a bug like titles overflow on mobile, ugh, so ugly, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to make of it, and I don't know where to find it. So we have some pointers here. It needs a good summarizing title, and you need to check, will my audience understand? Will the people understand what I'm writing? Second is you need system information. If it's a bug, it's really important to know where things go wrong, because of course, everything behaves differently on a different browser. Steps to reproduce are also very handy, so screenshots and videos are very helpful here, and if you don't have them, at least a description. The expected result is also very handy, like a design or an example would be great. And then the actual result, which is similar to the steps to reproduce, but you could elaborate on this with a console log as well, for instance. The way you write down things can also influence the outcome. Don't put suggestions or solutions in there, because the one picking up the task needs to find that solution, and they probably know better, because it's their job. Also avoid emotion, make it dry, make it fact-based. I don't want to know if you think something is ugly, because I love the color blue and you don't, right? Avoid duplication, make sure it's not already in the backlog. And last but not least, one issue per bug or per report. Because if you put together a lot of features and a lot of tasks, it's very hard to check them off, and it might take days to solve it. We have a very filled backlog. We all know what to do. Now it's important to assign someone to get the job done. If you assign multiple people and nobody takes the lead, chances become a little smaller for it to get finished, because everybody is looking at each other like, but he's gonna do it, or she's gonna do it. That's why I showed you the little example of Figma where I drew little faces and added a task to everybody. Or you could use labels or tags. However you like it, find what feels good together with your team. Good luck, and I'm sure you'll do just fine. Bye.